All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to what I believe is Repeek episode 4, maybe? It's been like, I don't know how many months, maybe years. That's probably been like 6 months since I last recorded one of these. Um, the reason is, well, I've been playing a bunch of Counter-Strike, and I've had a lot of other shit to do when it comes to like schoolwork and other things. But since this is a passion project, I am not shackled to any sort of schedule or anything like that. So I get to do them whenever I want to do them, which is nice. Some freedom. But yes, I thought I'd do one just because, well, I felt like doing one, and I just, well, like a couple days ago, finished watching DreamHack Marseille. And of course, some other recent events gave us some information about the future, so I thought I would speculate and recap DreamHack Masters Marseille. Because it's fun, and I like to do this, and I like to talk, so I might as well talk, and talk about the things that I like. Yes. Let's begin with DreamHack Marseille. I guess we'll go like top to bottom, as in start with the finals and the outcome of the entire tournament, and then kind of trickle down into what happened in the group stages or in the playoffs and the group stages and stuff like that. So obviously we saw Astralis winning this tournament, played Navi in the finals, won 2-0. I believe Astralis only dropped, they might have dropped one map. I could be wrong though. Yes, they dropped a map to Liquid, right? Yeah. That's right. Which is incredibly impressive, considering who they played throughout the entirety of the playoffs. I have to say, hats off to Astralis. The way they played, obviously Device was fucking out of his mind, which, I mean, no surprise there, really. But I think the biggest surprise is the fragability, let's make that a new word, of Glaive this tournament. Incredibly impressive. And then just across the board, they had amazing statistics, and they really kind of shared the load equally, which I think whenever we've seen that in the past, if you think back to like ESL1 New York, and I believe it was E-League season, whatever it was, the 2 tournaments in a row that FaZe won without dropping a single map, they went on that like insane land streak. I think whenever we've seen form like this, it usually comes in the form of every single person on the team being able to do something massive and being consistent throughout the entire tournament, like every single player, which is incredibly impressive, and obviously is going to win you tournaments. I mean, the flip side is Navi, right? Where it's like you have by far the best player on the planet, but you still can't win tournaments because he is so fucking good. I mean, let's just discuss that Newt game for starters. I think he went like 22-14 in a 16-4 loss. I mean, I don't know what I would do at that point. If that happened to me, if I was playing that out of my mind, that I had 22 kills and 14 deaths in a 16-4 map, I might actually just fucking terminate my contract. I'd find a fucking way, either to like extort them or fucking blackmail them. I would force them to sell me to a fucking organization with players that could actually win me tournaments. Because if like, just imagine simple on, fuck it, I'll say it, something like a Liquid. I don't know, maybe not actually. I'm trying to think of a good team, like, because you don't want Simple in FaZe. I think we've come to realize now that you can't just stack the best players in the world together. Sure, FaZe had that amazing run, and initially it's probably going to be really good, but after a while, I think just the politics in the team and just the way that Counter-Strike works, the amount of space there is to take in Counter-Strike means that you can't have multiple players like, Simple and Nico in the same team. I think it's too demanding. And I also think that there's a diminishing returns eventually of the amount of great players that you can have in a team, which I think is why Astralis, considering this form, they're such a great team, is that, sure, Device is out of his fucking mind, but when you think about Device, and when I watch Device play, to me, he isn't the kind of player that, how do I phrase this? He isn't a Nico, simple, Olaf Meister 2015 kind of player. When you look at him, I think you compare him. You can compare him closer to Crims in this day and age, where Crims is like the mega hard carry for Fnatic. Unfortunately, not in the semifinals of this tournament, which was unfortunate, but just goes to prove that whenever Crims does play well, which he does most of the time, they actually just win the game, which is crazy. Like, his statistics is like he's been the highest rated player in all the wins for Fnatic, or some like crazy shit like that. At this tournament, that is. But I mean, just looking at his form recently. But when you watch these players play, you don't look at them with the same, I guess, like shock value of the plays that Simple and Nico make. Because when Simple and Nico play, it's a lot of like 1vx type situations where they're in a 3v1 and Nico is just tapping everyone. Or Simple, like, somehow is able to 360 flick with an op. I don't even know it's possible, but he does it because he's Simple. They're way flashier, right? But when you look at someone like Crims or Device is so incredibly dynamic with that op, the way that he plays it on most maps like Inferno. Harken back to when they were the best team in the world on Train, which was like maybe a year ago, early 2017. The way that he plays the op is so fucking incredible, because what he does is he'll hold down an angle, right? He'll take the shot. Hopefully he gets a kill. Most of the time he does get a kill. Then he like shifts back and he plays like a shift-based like op playing style, which is so effective in his hands. And it really is amazing to watch. But that means that he's going to get like 3 kills in a round, but he gets them at 3 different junctures, all equally as important, but it's never, a 3 kill like spray down type situation where he's just like flicking and one tapping. He plays incredibly smart, where he knows how to get multiple kills and he knows how to get them consistently. It's the same with Crims. Just looking at Crims' tournament, his play on Mirage for most of the tournament, obviously bar the Astralis semifinal, because he didn't really play well. Golden carried that Mirage game, actually, surprisingly enough. Although they ended up losing it, unfortunately, because they like butchered fucking 7 rounds in a row or some shit. They were up like 12-7. I guess they lost. Yeah, they lost like a million rounds in a row towards the end, which was unfortunate, but whatever. We'll get back to that. When you watch Device, we're on Crims now. When you watch Crims on Mirage, when he plays incredibly well, the way that he's able to play connector and stairs is fucking just straight up brilliance. Because he knows exactly how to play with the smoke and utility to get a kill in mid when he's playing connector, and he gets one consistently all the time. And then he knows how to rotate back and get a second kill. But when he plays on those fucking stairs, and I saw JW do this a couple times as well, I think like this is why Fnatic might be one of the best teams on Mirage right now, is their timings and their presence of mind on that map is absolutely crazy. Because the amount of times I see them playing around the stairs smoke, and like Crims will pop out, he sees the smoke fading, and he pops out, and he knows where they are. And all he does is there's this famous clip from GMAC Marseille now where he kills the planter, he gets the guy in Palace, and then he gets the guy ramp. And it's like laser tag for him. He gets the guy planting, boom, Palace, and then he knows one is ramp, and then he just gets them quick succession. But it's not like one tapping, kind of like one spray. No, he gets a kill, gets a kill, gets a kill. He knows exactly what he needs to do to get multiple kills. And he does it frequently from that position. There's another clip where he gets that 4K where he's just like, it's a shooting gallery for him at ramp, and then he gets the guy in pals through the smoke, and then he eventually gets 2 more from ramp. But like Device and Crims are just 2 fucking stellar as fuck smart players that know how to get multiple kills in a round frequently and consistently. And when you have a player like that on a Astralis that has such great backup, but I would say little to no egos, when everyone practices and plays the amount that they've been playing recently, I think you're going to see stuff like this from teams like that, because it's just so consistent and it's so reliable, especially when you have Glaive, who I've always said is a very good in-game leader. Not only in terms of tactics, but also in terms of his ability in the game, his skill. He's very skilled. And I'm not only talking about aim, but he's also another one of these smart players, which I think if you compare it to Fnatic, Golden seems to have brought a structure and some level of tactics that have revitalized the players in Fnatic. But I think Golden as an individual player, he doesn't play that smart most of the time. There's a lot of mistakes and a lot of issues with his individual play, which is only going to get better with time, because he's very new to the top level. So give him time, I think he's going to be a brilliant player. But Glaive, he's just so smart, and I think Glaive, considering how SK are doing, is probably the best in-game leader in the scene right now. And it's really nice to watch a team like Astralis, even though I kind of dislike them because I'm half Swedish. The Danes, not a fan. But hats off to Astralis, man. They're incredibly entertaining right now. I think watching them play at this level, when all of their players play this well, it's amazing to watch. And my God, Magisk, what a pickup. Most people, questioned the pickup. Obviously, people wanted Astralis to take config. But I think now in retrospect, and I'm not going to say that this was some kind of, I never predicted this. But at the same time, I wasn't as critical of the move as most people were when they picked up Magisk. I think attitude-wise, and maybe out of the game, and communication-wise, I think Magisk is a safer bet than config. I also think in the game, considering what Astralis has been and what they see as success and what they know they have been successful with, I think that Magisk fits the role way better than config, because config will throw a spanner in the works for Astralis that they'll have to play around. That aggression, I think they'd have to adjust to, and they're not used to it. And I don't think the characters in Astralis were ready for someone like config, even though he was. I don't know how he's doing now. It seems that he's been kind of shaky in Optic. But yeah, I don't think that would have. I don't think they would have meshed well at all. And I think we see now what the key to success for Astralis is. It's when they have amazing structure and amazing team play, and they're fucking. I mean, I was watching the Fnatic game. I believe the second map was Overpass, right? Or the first map was Overpass, because Astralis completely fucking wrecked them. But the way that Astralis play Counter-Strike is so brilliant. They'd have this aggression up towards mid when Fnatic were in T and Astralis were playing CT, right? They'd have these amazing setups where one guy would push mid, Device would be on the op balloons, and this guy would bait them out by either killing one, the guy that pushed up mid, either killing one or shooting and falling back. And the second that Fnatic would overextend, thinking that this is someone, playing aggressively and they're going to fall back and hope to stay alive by falling back as quickly as possible, Device is there with the op, boom, gets the kill, and all of a sudden they have a man advantage. They have these brilliant setups of always assuring that they're playing with a man advantage. And the second you can do that and have the structure that Astralis has, and then can benefit from being in man advantage and can capitalize on that, I think it's amazing. And we saw it the entire tournament, and they're fucking... When they hit that level, it's fucking scary, man. And I think that's something that many teams are going to have to practice, is playing with a man advantage, because I see it all the fucking time, because I watch a lot of Fnatic, and it seems they're incapable of consistently playing well with a man advantage. Their T side has been struggling a whole bunch lately, especially like on Mirage. I'm surprised that they let people play in that So when you're playing T and you're walking up connector, there's this cubby to the left. The amount of times and rounds in a row that Fnatic players would either get two of them would get killed or one would get killed from that position consistently, nobody checked it. It's something I've realized like a whole bunch, and it happens quite frequently. And it's not like, oh, there's a limited amount or there's an unlimited amount of angles that you need to check, so you can't prepare for anything. No, there's this consistently. I guess they just consistently forget to check certain angles, which is frustrating. As I would say that I'm a Fnatic fan. I'm a Fnatic fanboy. But when I model the game and when I watch the games, there is a certain level of objectivity as well. And I think that's something that many teams need to figure out. I think what we've seen most of the time when people go in these insane tournament runs where they just look so dominating, it seems fairly obvious to say, but it's when teams have these amazing setups and trust in each other to consistently gain man advantages and then capitalizing on that man advantage through amazing CT setups, amazing trading on T side. I think teams need to look at what Astralis have done here and what FaZe did back towards mid, I guess, 2017 to late 2017 when they went on that fucking tear. I think it was the fall of 2017. People need to take a look at that, and I think that they're going to have to emulate some version of that, because when I watch other teams, it seems that teams want to be very loose. But at the same time, you can be very loose but have these setups. Like the Astralis setup on Overpass. It's as simple as saying, you know what, I'm going to play a little bit of aggro on mid. Whoa, my screen just went black. Okay, never mind. We're fine. I'm going to play a little bit of aggro on mid, and I'm going to bait out a shot. Hopefully I get a kill. If I don't, I'm going to fall back, and you're going to get the guy because he's going to overextend. It's a very easy call to make. And it's a very easy tactic to formulate and implement, because it doesn't require that much utility. Maybe you throw a flash over some kind of... There's a molly I know that you could throw towards mid, so if the timing's wrong, you can kind of delay them slightly. But I think that teams... like loose teams, and I guess you can call FaZe somewhat of a loose team, which I think they've had issues with in finals, which we've obviously seen. And it was their problem for a long time, is that when the looseness doesn't work, when game plan A doesn't work, what do you have to fall back on? I think that's incredibly important, because that's what yields consistency, and that's what Astralis has successfully done. Think of Navi teams of old and SK teams of old. It's always been the key to success, and I think people need to start emulating that, because it's easy to say, we want to play loose, because first of all, it doesn't require as much preparation, and it's easier as a player because you don't have to practice playing in a structure. You just kind of play loose and you hope for the best, and you tell yourself that you have the fraggers to do it and that you have the skill to do it, and you probably have to believe that. But I think in the long run, these coaches are going to have to step in and say, look, we need a playbook with simple plays and simple setups that will allow us to mid-round and late round still play loose, but in the beginning give us some sort of man advantage, and then after that, we need to hold on to that man advantage. And I think there is a way to do it with a looser playing style, but I think that you need just that slight bit of structure to be consistently successful, right? And yeah, I think that's the key to success now. Let's talk about... Now we've talked about Astralis, and we've touched a lot on Fnatic. Let's talk a little bit about Navi, or Simple. And, everyone's a parrot in the scene now, right? Because all everyone can say is Simple. But it truly is the case, though. Like I said, when you get... First of all, he's the first player ever to get an HLTV MVP award on the losing team, I believe. I'd have to look that up, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to... I believe it's the truth, okay? That's what we do here, all right? Fucking Repeek stats, all right? Confirmed. Confirmed statistics, I promise. But no, I'm pretty sure he was the first player on a losing team to receive the MVP award, the HLTV MVP award. Not only is he the first to ever have done it, he's done it twice now in like a span of 4 months. How fucking absurd is that? This guy needs some fucking help. And I don't understand. People keep on saying, like, I believe it's the last round of the tournament, actually. Edward, Flamey, and Zeus have AKs. Simple is on a UMP, Electronic is on a CZ. Now, this fucking notion that you give Zeus an AK because surely, because Simple is so good, it will give Zeus a chance to get some kills, and it will kind of even out the fragability of the team and the round. That is not even close to being the fucking case, right? Because with an AK in Zeus's hands, there is a high risk and a high probability that he doesn't even win the first aim duel, right? In my opinion, he's not even supposed to win the first aim duel. So first of all, you put an AK into a guy's hands, a guy who's not even supposed to win an aim duel, whose only option is trading, and then is probably going to get traded back. So you're giving up an AK in the hands of Simple, who can do fucking magical things. He's a fucking magician, right? Instead, you give it to a fucking farmer who's never seen magic in his fucking life, probably doesn't even know the definition of magic, doesn't even know what fucking magic is. All he can do is hopefully trade for his teammate that entries, which is probably going to be one of the other AKs, and all of a sudden you've lost one AK, probably going to lose two, assuming that there's a trade war, I guess. And so that's all you've guaranteed yourself. Probably one kill. Maybe two if you're extremely lucky. As opposed to fucking putting it into Simple's hands, and I wouldn't be surprised if he fucking aces. In fact, I'd probably be disappointed if he doesn't ace, right? I mean, where's the logic there? Where's the logic when you put AKs into three people that are so considerably worse? I guess not in Flamey's case, but Edward and Zeus. You give them AKs and force Electronic and Simple to play with garbage guns. I guess Electronic did play with a CZ, which we've seen this fucking tournament. It cannot be allowed to exist. It cannot be allowed to exist. It needs to go. No more fucking CZ. Get that shit the fuck out of here. I don't want to see it. At least make it like 1K and it shares, or like $800 and it shares Assault with the Deagle. If you do that, okay. Okay. Because at that point, all right, let's say that you're forcing. You're going to have to give up a smoke. You're going to have to give up some form of utility to buy the CZ. And also, you're not going to be allowed to play with the Deagle the entire game. Because you'll have to choose. I think then it's a weak remedy, but it is somewhat of a remedy. I think, it's going to see probably less play, because also when you're in a situation where, let's say you have 2.5K and you're on a 5-round losing streak, I don't see how that works. So economically, let's say you're on like a 4-round losing streak or a 3-round losing streak, and you have 2.5K and you're just sort of doing a half buy setting up for the next round. You can't just buy a CZ and then all of a sudden you get fucking 2 kills somehow for $500. At least when it costs $800 and it shares Assault with the Deagle, you're actually giving up a lot of economy to take that risk. And it needs to be way more of a high risk, high reward gun, in my opinion. the second thing you could do is maybe like limit the clip on it or something. I don't know. Running accuracy is a big thing as well. Maybe you could change the rate of fire. Something needs to change though, because I fucking hate that gun. Either way, Na'Vi this tournament, it's yet another example. I guess except for Mouse Sports, the Mouse Sports game, they had a fairly easy run, right? Granted, they did smash Fnatic. I guess it was a 2-1, but they did kind of smash Fnatic. Let's be honest here. Got Renegades the first round. It wasn't the most difficult tournament run ever, considering they got Gambit in that semifinals, which I think honestly Gambit, they ran into a Liquid that had kind of run out of steam and were playing with a new player. Cloud9 didn't impress me at all, even though they made the playoffs. They did beat FaZe 2-0, but I think that Cloud9 have shown that they have FaZe's number, and I think that FaZe has an issue with a lot of teams now because they have all of a sudden become chokers. I think it's who they are now. Once that confidence fades from losing that many finals, you start to question yourself. And once you see a Cloud9 that you know have beaten you in the past, things get way more difficult all of a sudden. I think they're seeing ghosts, and I think it's Skip Bayless has a nice rant on this on kickers in the NFL. Is like once you start seeing ghosts, that's usually the end of the career. Usually you can't overcome those ghosts, and I think that. Granted, FaZe did play with Exist, but Exist played fairly well in a couple of games. But that's always going to bring issues, of course. And that's yet another, feather in Cloud9's. That's not really the metaphor I wanted to go for, but it's another favor, or it's another. It's something that goes into Cloud9's favor. Right, one more thing that goes into Cloud9's favor against FaZe is that FaZe has to play with a new player. Cloud9 does as well. New in-game leader. That's gonna, come with all kinds of problems. And I know that I'm kind of ranting and throwing a lot of things out here, but those two teams didn't impress me at all. And then Gambit, of course, kind of had it a slightly easy, right? Easy route. They got Cloud9 in the quarterfinals, and with a new team, as soon as you make the playoffs, I think. Especially when you switch up the in-game leader, I think, and when it's FNS, I think you're going to struggle a bit in the beginning. And, Gambit capitalized on that, made the semis, and got bodied by Na'Vi because of Simple. Now, Mouse Sports, this tournament, they impressed me in the fucking group stages. I will say this about fucking Mouse Sports. Watching Mouse Sports is one of the most fucking entertaining things. Like that game versus SK and the decider of Group B. Watching fucking Mouse Sports is one of the most entertaining things when they're on fire. I think that Sunny, Rops, and Oscar is going to turn out to be probably the best fucking trio in the game eventually. And I think we're seeing it now. What trio fucking beats them? I don't think any trio beats them. Because most other teams, like Astralis, the entire team is on fucking point. Na'Vi have fucking Simple. Fnatic have Crims, and then it kind of depends on the map. The rest of the players kind of show up here and there, but it's never consistent. Team Liquid, I think we're seeing a couple chinks in their armor, but they're definitely up there for consideration of like the best trio with Naf, Elige, and Twists. But I think right now that Mouse Sports definitely has the best fucking trio in the game. And I think it's going to get slightly better in the short term, and then we'll see what happens in the mid to long term. But when they're firing on all fucking cylinders, that team is a fucking entertaining team to watch. And they just kind of ran into the freight train that is Simple in the playoffs, which is unfortunate. But they're still doing well in my mind. I think they're gonna be a strong team going forward. I don't think they should be too worried about that quarterfinal. Although, knowing what we know about Sydney, Astralis, Fnatic, Mouse Sports, and Na'Vi in the same fucking group, I think that's the biggest atrocity. Obviously, it's difficult to know, considering when the groups were drafted. But that's probably the biggest atrocity in group stage history in any fucking video game. Or in any esport, I guess I should refer to it as. That is such a fucking atrocity. I can't believe that's the case. And you know what? Sydney's going to be worse off for it, unfortunately. I mean, it's difficult for them, right? But I wish, instead of holding on to like, well, this is the group that we drafted, come on, just reseed their groups. Like, do you have that much content prepared for the group stages already? They're not even there yet, so you haven't filmed anything. Redraft the fucking groups. And yeah, that's what I would suggest. I mean, what else is there? I think we touched on everything. Ninjas, they looked actually pretty fucking impressive this tournament. I'm not going to lie. And I kind of enjoyed what they had going for them, right? Forrest was playing out of his fucking mind. I think people were afraid when Get Right said that he'd stepped back and he realized that his skill level isn't what it once was and that he is a way worse player now. I took that as a fucking great sign of things to come. Because now he knows that, okay, I'm not the player I once was. I'm going to have to give up some space to the other players. And I'm going to do, and he said it consistently, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to get the W. That's the only thing that matters to me. I don't care about what I do individually. As long as a team gets the W, I'm happy. And I think that's a great player to have in a team. And I think the Ninjas are going to be way better off because he has realized that and has given up hopes of becoming what he once was. But he still had some great games. And, you know, I think the Ninjas are going to be great going forward. Are they going to be a championship winning team? Probably not. I don't think so. I think that's doubtful, but who knows? They might win 1 or 2 tournaments this year. They tend to. For somehow, like, the Ninjas always come out in like one tournament. Granted, now they look better than ever. They've always done it when they look garbage, to be honest. But, you know, I think they're going to do well. And I think their fragility is incredibly high right now. And I think they're probably going to be able to edge out a tournament where people are just going fucking ham. They got a lot of young players, so, you know, they're invested in the future. So I think good things are to come for the Ninjas. Now, the two last teams that I want to talk about, and they're more tragedies than anything else, is SK Gaming and G2 Esports. Let's start with SK Gaming, right? Lose to NIP in that first game, 16-13. Okay, you know, things aren't terrible. We have, you know, 2 second chances, technically. Obviously, they spanked the shit out of Valiance, which, I mean, to be fair, who thought they would do anything in this fucking tournament? I guess they had that one game against Mouse where Mouse were kind of like throwing it-ish. But let's be fucking real. That shit happens. Mousesports, you know, eventually grinded it out and eventually won that game. And that was just like a shot in the dark, once in a lifetime type of thing that they could almost mount the comeback against Mousesports. I'm not even going to talk about Valiance because I put no stock in what the fuck they did this tournament. It was impressive that they got here. Maybe in the future they'll you know, be a good fucking team. And it's nice seeing, you know, that region improving. And good things are probably to come now that they have some slight experience. I assume they were allowed to practice against a lot of teams here, so that might give them some perspective and some resources to let them climb in the professional scene and the professional ladder. But, you know, nothing yet. I'm not impressed yet, but maybe soon. But yeah, SK spanked the shit out of Valiance, but then they get completely fucking massacred by Mousesports. Now, the one thing I want to talk about when it comes to SK is Stewie 2K. I don't understand why they why they signed Stewie 2K if this is what they're going to have him do. Because they didn't sign Stewie 2K, apparently. Or they didn't sign him to have him be Stewie 2K. They signed him to have a fifth player and then turn him into something completely different. And I don't see the value of that. Then you might as well just pick up the kind of player that you want. Maybe a steal, but that would just be a downgrade from Taco. They've already tried this with 2 aggressive players with Phelps, and we all saw how that turned out. I mean, granted, they did win tournaments with Phelps, and they looked way better in the beginning than they do with Stewie 2K. So I think that the language barrier, just the communication among all the players, it's even though it's not that considerable, it's something that just adds to the stress, and when you're losing, I think it's going to compound into something worse. Now, Stewie 2K isn't playing like Stewie 2K. I don't know if it's the team that's putting pressure on him to be more of a reserved player, but he is not playing the way that he used to, where he does shenanigans and gives your team an edge in the early round. That's what he needs to be. That's what he needs to do. If SK wants them to play like some kind of reserved third guy, like third entry type player, I don't see it working out, and I just see them getting worse. Unless you can maybe fire bolts and get some kind of player that has amazing dynamic, which they tried to do apparently. They tried to sign Automatic, but Automatic realized, wait a second, we have SK's number. We consistently beat SK now. Why do I want to join them? We just won a major. What have they done? No, I'm going to pass. I think Automatic realized that the house is burning, and, you know, you don't want to buy a burning house. That would not be a smart move. But unless they can fire bolts and find some kind of player that works well with Stewie or some kind of Taco level player, which honestly Taco in his tenure in SK towards the end playing very poorly, but you want a similar type player, I think. I think that's the solution, but they need to do something about Stewie, man. They need to either let him be himself, tell him that he can be himself so that he doesn't feel that pressure and plays the way that he thinks that they want him to play. Something needs to happen there. Something needs to fucking happen. All right, I'm just going to have me a sip of water. Nice little swig. The final team that we're going to talk about when it comes to DreamHack Marseille is, of course, the French domestic, one of the domestic teams for this tournament, G2 Esports, right? Jesus fucking Christ. First of all, they butchered, or they lost, or they managed to... Well, I guess actually, like, Cloud9 managed to finagle their way to fucking... or finagle their way through six G2 match points. But G2, you cannot give up 6 match points in a game, lose that first game, then go play fucking Envious and lose on cash in that manner, and then somehow tell yourselves that, whoa, wait, but this tournament format is fucking unfair, man. No. You blew it. If you're going to have best of ones in the group stage, and then if you're going to have best of ones and best of threes, I'd much rather have the best of threes being the ones that decide whether you go to the playoffs or not. 1,000,000%. Because I think it is way more important that you prove that you are supposed to be in the playoffs as opposed to prove that, you know, you're not worthy of being there. Because the amount of times we've seen, you know, people win 2 best of ones go to the playoffs and not do anything, you know, I think just looking at the outcome of all the teams in this tournament, there was no issue with that. Because to get to the playoffs, you had to beat good teams, right? Cloud9 had to beat FaZe. Mousesports had to beat SK. NIP had to beat Mouse. Fnatic, you know, lost to Navi, then had to play Renegades. That's just because that group was kind of weak. But, you know, Navi had to beat Fnatic to get to the playoffs in a best of 3. Astralis had to beat Liquid. And then Gambit had to beat Liquid, right? All best of 3s. G2 not being able to win a best of one against Envy, that's on them. You know, obviously I'd prefer if everything was best of threes, but when it comes to making the playoffs, proving that you're supposed to be in the running for that final and eventually that trophy, I think it is way more valuable if you have best of threes to prove that you are supposed to be in the playoffs. I think it's just way more valuable. And I think the outcome and the teams we saw in the playoffs perfectly, except for maybe G2, but honestly, we don't know. Because everyone's been doubtful of G2. There's been a lot of controversy when it comes to G2 and the French scene in general right now. With that group, Cloud9, FaZe, Team Envy's G2, I mean, was it expected that G2 would make it over Cloud9? Maybe. Close call. Was it expected that G2 would make it instead of FaZe? No fucking way. Right? So I think people need to stop bitching about having two best of ones and you're out of the fucking tournament. I mean, if you're G2 and you lose 6 match points in that first game and then lose that decidedly to Envy, I don't think there's an excuse. So it's unfortunate, but there's no fucking excuse, in my opinion, at least. And that's just because I think it's way more valuable to have best of threes deciding whether you go to the finals or whether you go to the playoffs or not. But hey, that's just me. All right? All right. So, let's talk about the future, huh? Now, the future looks chaotic. It looks to be a monarchy in the Counter-Strike Global Offensive professional scene. It seems that we will have a handful of teams that are going to absolutely fucking dominate. And that is my prediction. And we're going to see a couple of teams right now that are in that upper echelon that are going to fall off, I think, immediately, and then might eventually make it back to like the top 5. I think this is going to happen, and I think the teams that are going to be far and above everyone else, Astralis and FaZe. Now, most of you probably know why. It's because Valve have decided to remove Cobblestone from the active map pool and add Dust2. Now, we know that the core of Astralis have always been good on Dust2. Harkening back to when they had Cajun B and Kerrigan. Now, Kerrigan has always been good on Dust2. FaZe. The core of Astralis has always been good on Dust2. Device, Dupree, Zipnix. Or Zipex, I guess, because it's a reverse E, is what I realized the other day. Now, this is going to be incredibly problematic for Fnatic. And I think some problems are going to arise for Na'Vi. Now, Simple is probably going to have a fucking field day on this map. Don't get me wrong. Simple is probably going to have a field day on this fucking map. But the truth is, for Na'Vi, Cobblestone was a good map for them. And now they're just kind of replacing a good map with an uncertain map. So I think their stock is going to depreciate slightly. Fnatic's stock is going to depreciate immensely because Cobblestone is their fucking insta-lock. And I think everyone's going to play Dust2. Not everyone plays Cobblestone. So Fnatic are not going to have a pocket pick anymore. Fnatic are going to fucking, unless Crims can just fucking put them on their back, which he has been doing, and just fucking, go hard. I think Fnatic are going to struggle immensely. I think their stock is going to fucking crash. And then, once things kind of even out a little bit, they're going to get back to like maybe top 5. But I think they're going to depreciate immensely. Now, whatever team that Shox decides to create is going to be fucking amazing, I think. And I think there's going to be slight turmoil before things even out. But I think initially FaZe and Astralis are going to fucking dominate. And we're going to see this already in Sydney. So, in like 4 days, people have to fucking prepare to play Dust2. Now, considering that Nuke is still in the fucking active map pool, everyone is going to ban fucking Nuke. Nuke is going to have a 95% ban percentage. 100%. I'm 100% sure the fact that Nuke is going to have a 95% ban statistic. 100%. And that means that teams are going to probably have to play Dust2. Which is going to be fucking interesting. Now, I also think that we're not going to see Inferno as the third map decider as much anymore. Because I think that what we've realized with the new Inferno is that now people are actually starting to first pick it. And I think with the addition of Dust2, I think people are going to be way more comfortable picking Inferno first, teams like Navi, teams like NIP maybe, over something like a Dust2. So I think we're going to see Dust2 again is going to be a map that we're always going to see. And I think that this now means that Dust2 and Inferno are going to be seen, I think, exponentially more than any other map. So I think Inferno and Dust2 might be played in every single fucking series, and then maybe people are going to play Overpass. Like Astralis is going to probably play Overpass. Maybe people are going to play Train. It's a toss-up. Overpass, you want to play Overpass, you want to play Train, it's going to depend on the team. But I think Inferno and Dust2 are going to see so much fucking play that we're going to be sick. Going to be sick of these maps. Inferno less so, because Dust2 is a boring fucking map. It's boring. The sites are boring. As T, you can seriously cripple CTs in the beginning of the fucking round. You can spawn, shoot, and cripple the CTs before they get to a site. What kind of fucked up shit is that? I hate Dust2. I really dislike Dust2. I'm not happy that it's back in the active map pool. I thought it should have remained a fucking A map or a DM map for the rest of fucking time. That's just my 2 cents. Not a fan. But you know what? Now we're going to see it all the fucking time. And that's just, it is what it is. I guess you just have to accept it. It's going to suck for teams like Fnatic. It's unfortunate. I think that we're going to see way more upsets. I think this is the addition of an upset map into the map pool. I also think, considering the nature of the map, and considering that Inferno is already played in pretty much every single series, I think we're going to see Dust2 and Inferno in every single fucking best of 3. And I think we're going to have a scene that is in disarray on the level below the top 2. Which I think is going to be FaZe and Astralis. And I think they're going to own. I think this is a slight buff to SK as well, because SK has always been good on Dust2. So we might see SK, make their slight ascent into the top 5 again. But yeah. It's a fucking shame. Dust2 had to make a comeback, and it was in favor of Cobblestone, which, you know what, Cobblestone is boring to watch, but I think there are worse maps out there. Dust2 being one of them. Nuke being another. But yeah, I thought now, to close out the podcast, we'll review the group stage, or predict what might happen at IEM Sydney. Okay? Let's see, I just need to find the page so I can actually see the group stages. Okay, so it seems to be an upper bracket, lower bracket type situation here. Wait. Oh, it's an upper bracket, lower bracket with 2 groups. Ah. Okay, this isn't that bad. Well, it is kind of bad. It's ish bad. Not that bad. But, okay. Okay, so that means that potentially Mousesports, Navi, Fnatic, and Astralis can all make it out. Okay, this is going to be an interesting review. I didn't actually know that this was a format. I thought it was 4 groups. This is my bad. I didn't prepare. Fucking sue me. Alright? I'm unprofessional. I'll get better with time. Promise you. Alright, let's see. Upper bracket in the first group. FaZe versus Order. I mean, I'm just going to pick FaZe. I don't even want to explain that shit. FaZe and then playing Space Soldiers or Renegades. I think FaZe goes to the finals of the upper bracket almost immediately. Space Soldiers, Renegades. You know what? I'm going to give it to Space Soldiers. I think Space Soldiers, even though they're not quite there on land, they have some fucking weapons, and they're definitely going to beat Renegades. Does Renegades have a shot? They do. But when it comes to predictions, you know what? I'm not going to throw out crazy fucking shit and be like, oh, well, you know what? I kind of like Renegades, so I'm going to pick Renegades. Which people do way too fucking much. If you're on an analyst desk, I don't want to see you picking the team that you're mates with, unless you make it kind of like into a funny joke, or a team that you have some kind of association with. No, you're supposed to bestow upon us your knowledge of the game, and you are supposed to pick the favorites, and then explain to us why the favorites are going to win. Because in a game of probabilities, you bet on what is more probable. You can explain to us why somebody maybe has a shot in the dark. That doesn't mean you're supposed to pick them. That's a mini rant. But I'm going to pick Space Soldiers to beat Renegades. Because Space Soldiers have way better players. I think with the experience that they've now gathered, with their LAN experience that they've now gathered, making it further into tournaments than Renegades have. Renegades made that quarterfinal. Was it Star Series? I can't fucking remember. But Space Soldiers, they've been dealing some damage, all right? WSG fucking final comes to mind, although that was not an impressive tournament. They're playing for $1 million. That'll, granted, they did choke that final map against Fnatic. I'm still going to pick them, though, right? They've come that close to $1 million. They know how high stakes and high pressure feels like. I'm picking Space Soldiers. FaZe beat Space Soldiers. Space Soldiers go down to the fucking lower bracket, along with Renegades, who are going to play Greyhound, because Cloud9's going to win that fucking map. I'm not even going to explain that. Cloud9 win. SK Tyloo, I think SK wins. Cloud9 SK, I think Cloud9 wins. Cloud9 FaZe in the final of the upper bracket. I assume both make the playoffs, but I will take Cloud9, because I feel like Cloud9 have proven that they have FaZe's fucking number. And I think that's going to fucking edge them out, because Cloud9 have fraggers. FaZe, it is a group stage, but they did lose to Cloud9 the group stages of DreamHack Marseille. I think Cloud9 is going to prove yet again that FaZe have ghosts that they can't fucking deal with. FaZe are going to go cold in the upper bracket final. Cloud9 are going to take that, probably make like the semis or some shit of the fucking playoffs. I don't know how that works. Cloud9 are winning the upper bracket final. FaZe are making the upper bracket final, but not winning it. Then, who's going to make it out in the lower bracket of that group? I think it's going to be probably Space Soldiers and SK. I think that's a fair shout. I don't really have to go into it too much. Now comes the interesting group, I guess, or bracket. Upper bracket of the second group. Mousesports are going to beat whatever the fuck team that is. Boot. Mousesports win that. Straws NRG. Now I want to see NRG do well in this fucking tournament. I want to see them make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But it would be fun to see. Because NRG, I hate when people are like, well, they're doing so well online. This is a very inexperienced fucking team, all right? They have not played much on LAN. The first couple of LANs are going to be fucking shaky. I don't think they're going to play too well on LAN. They've torn up fucking online, but that doesn't tell me much with a team like this with a lot of inexperience. All right? NRG is going to lose. They're going to lose to Astralis. Mousesports Astralis. I'm going to take Astralis on that one. Mousesports will make it to the final of the lower bracket, though. I will give them that much. Then we have, unless you have to play like fucking Navi or some shit. Okay, this could get interesting, actually. Wait a second. Wait a motherfucking second. Right, so Na'Vi MVP. Na'Vi obviously won that. Fnatic versus Na'Vi. Na'Vi are going to win that. As long as Fnatic does not play... No, I don't think that's possible, right? No, right. Because Fnatic and Mousesports are not going to be able to play each other in the second game of the lower bracket because both... This is in my speculation. Both are gonna go down to the lower bracket in the second round of the upper bracket. And so Mousesports is gonna play like NRG or someone. Still gonna pick Mousesports. Mousesports go to the final. Fnatic's gonna play like MVP, PK, or Chiefs. Fnatic make it to the final of the lower bracket. And so that's my... If I had to speculate, that's how things are gonna end up. We're gonna have Cloud9, FaZe, SK, Space Soldiers, Mousesports, Astralis, Na'Vi, Fnatic in the playoffs. That's a very boring answer. It's a very, like, vanilla pick. But I'm going to pick it. Because I'm not a fucking dweeb that's like, well, you know NRG are playing really well online. I bet they can make the fucking playoffs. No. I'm not going to do that. I think Space Soldiers are going to beat Renegades. That's why Renegades is not going to the fucking playoffs. There are apparently a million fucking garbage teams in this tournament, I just realized. 3 additional Oceanic teams beyond Renegades, and then like 3 Asian teams? What the hell? All right, as long as Cloud9, FaZe, as long as none of the shit teams make the final or make the playoffs, this could be a good tournament. But yeah, I think that's eventually what's going to happen. Actually, and yeah, that's how that's going to turn out. Now, is there anything else? Are there any more moves? Any more news? Is there anything that we can cover? I don't think so. Astralis invited to ESL 1 Cologne. Nice. Cool. Yeah, that's it for this fucking podcast. Thank you for tuning in if you did. Appreciate that. If you could like, comment, subscribe, share. No, I'm kidding. Just make sure to fucking listen to all my shit. That'd be nice. All right, boys. Yeah. Thanks for me. This has been Repeek, I believe, episode 4, covering DreamHack Marseille, upcoming Sydney, and the addition of Dust2 into the active map pool in favor of Cobblestone. See you next time.